What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 66, the Puckin' Around podcast. We're back in the playoff edition because we are in the postseason, baby. Unfortunately, only one of our three teams is in the playoffs in the Montreal Canadiens. Congratulations to Rick. After a couple of years, they're finally back in it, baby. And the Flyers and the Bruins are likely a few years away. So we're going to see how that goes. But we have entered the postseason. Tonight, at least, well, actually, not every team has played game one for some divine reason. The Florida Panthers and Tampa Bay Lightning have waited quite a significant amount of time to get their game one going. So,
they're playing as we speak, right?
No, 8:30 they start at.
A little weird, though, a little late for them. But at least every other series has one game under their belt. So really not much to go by, but get a first good look at what we have in these playoff series going on so far. With me to talk about it is the usual Brute Squad in the Rick Seligman, the Alex Fournette, and the handsome, most gorgeous, unbelievable filibuster Eric Martino. How we doing, buddy?
Why did you get that?
Wait a minute, what are we in Rick?
What the hell is that about?
You guys get a consolation prize out of nothing.
It's like you just gave Eric a fucking filet mignon and you gave me and Rick a chicken nuggets.
What do you mean? No, I gave you guys a flank steak because you guys are flat.
Yeah, that's been left out in the Sahara Desert for a month.
It's honestly Eric's beard, dude.
I saw nothing wrong with this intro, so.
Oh, sure not. No. I will say, if the
Eric approved this intro.
The Bruins made the playoffs last year. The Habs made it this year, which means next year both the Habs and Bruins will miss the playoffs, and the Flyers will make it. Right?
Next year, Habs aren't missing the playoffs. What's wrong with you?
Oh, I mean, if the pattern holds firm.
I don't know.
The only thing that's firm I can't talk about.
The only thing that's firm, Alex, is the Flyers missing another year in the playoffs, and likely the Bruins next year as well if they can't figure their stuff out. I don't see the Flyers making it next year.
Daddy's gonna cook.
Yeah, he's gonna cook you chicken nuggets, which is what you deserve.
Filet of fish. Ryan.
Filet of fish for Rick. No, it's just Eric's beard, man. I give him the benefit of the doubt with that and that wonderful intro because it's just hard not to recognize, a piece of art. I mean, if you look at my mutton face, like it's just disgusting. But you look at Eric, it's like it's a piece. Yeah. Rick, it's gray. It blends in with your skin color, so like it's whatever. Grow up. Welcome to the roast of Rick. Little R&R tonight.
Poor Rick is catching strays for no reason right now.
Yeah, well, fellas, it's off season. Well, I'm sorry, postseason, not off season. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's been a couple weeks since I've been on the show, so I'm a little rusty here. Forgive me, everybody. I don't know. Nothing really that kind of excites me out of the gate. I will say though, the Florida Dallas. I'm really bad tonight. The Colorado Dallas series. That's probably the best one I've seen so far.
Yeah, I would have to tend to agree that both games were competitive right down the wire. Even though Colorado broke it open in that first game, it was 2-1 with like 6 or 7 minutes to go, and then they ended up scoring that insurance goal. Then there was an empty netter thrown in there. So it was worse than the score. It wasn't as bad as the score indicated, but both games were competitive. But yeah, that Dallas-Colorado series just has the feel of a 7-game classic. Especially with Dallas getting Sagan back, Heiskanen probably right around the corner, Landeskog coming back for Colorado, probably in Game 3 for potential morale boost. So it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to this series, especially. You got two really good teams, two teams that are loaded with depth and star talent. The only issue is Dallas is a little banged up.
Yeah, no, definitely. Look, even not only Heiskanen, but even Jason Robertson missing him as well. That's a huge loss.
Oh, for sure.
So, like, I would really have loved to see the Dallas 100% healthy in this series. Could have been it's still a great series, obviously, but like with Dallas 100% healthy, maybe I would have changed my mind and who I took in that series. But no, look, we got a good one, man. Like, I was really hoping after game one that because I find Colorado kind of dominated a little bit game one. I gave them a little bit of the edge, but no, Dallas, man, they showed resilience in game two, man. And they're really putting up a fight.
Well, in game one, didn't Colorado, when you say dominant, it wasn't at the end of the game.
No, I wouldn't say
Yeah,
they
that's what I'm
no,
saying.
like,
It wasn't a blowout. The game was
no, no, no,
actually
no.
a lot closer than the score indicated.
Yeah.
It just looked bad because of the score.
Yeah, but that's the
No,
score.
I
It
know.
happened at the end of the game. It was
That's
really
what I was
close
saying.
for most of the. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
pretty
I
much
mean-
reiterating it. Yeah.
I mean, look at game two. Game two, I mean, I wouldn't say like that. It was a little bit more, I think, spread out scoring. But I mean, it's such a shame to see these two juggernauts of teams face each other, in the first round, because then it kind of sets the tone, right, for things going forward. And it's just awful that you have to see, like, I mean, they're very This is I would have preferred to see in the divisional round, I think, because they're both in the same, right? They're both central, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So this is something I definitely would have preferred to see in the divisional round as opposed to just the first round, because then you look at Winnipeg and St. Louis and you're like, okay, well, Winnipeg is going to come out of that. VGK Minnesota, I mean, that has the potential to be a good series. And then LA and Edmonton. So it's very interesting, just to kind of see. But I would have preferred this to be a second round matchup as opposed to a first, because then you just get your quality gets a little lower. You know what I mean?
They have to change the playoff format for that.
This is why we have argued so much for the fact that we need to go back to 1-8.
I'm
1-8,
all for that.
Colorado would be facing the Kings right now, and Dallas would get Edmonton. And that would probably be a little more fair, because I think Colorado and the Kings are a little bit closer. I'd probably say Colorado's better, but at least that would have been a better.
I don't think there's even a question. I think Colorado is better.
On the Kings. I think that is the dark horse team of this entire
entire
playoff with the LA Kings.
I just think Colorado is much, much deeper, dude. Like I don't
know. The Kings added some depth this offseason. Warren Vogel was such an underrated ad for them.
Yeah, but they almost got caught. They gave up 4 unanswered goals to almost blow that game.
They fell asleep at the wheel last night against Edmonton. I'm not arguing that. But overall, top to bottom, that team is better than Edmonton.
they're better than Edmonton, but they're not better than Colorado. I mean,
I know that, but I think Colorado is better still. But what I'm trying to say is that would have been a series that would have been more of like a smaller gap in terms, like Colorado LA feels like more of a first round matchup as I poke myself in the eye, and Dallas and Edmonton feels like more of a first round matchup, because Dallas and Colorado kind of feel like two of the best 3 teams in the West, probably, where the Kings are probably right in the middle of the pack in the Western playoffs. Edmonton, in my opinion, is probably the Devils of the West right now, minus the injuries. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the Western Conference, it's a toss-up between Dallas and Colorado as the best teams. I mean, sure, you could throw VGK as like a close, they're in third place, I think. I think unless Connor Hellebuck proves that he can be a good, like, the St. Louis Blues are giving Winnipeg a hard time. So it's outside of, I think, what was it, game 1, where I think it was just 2 goals that St. Louis let up pretty quickly. But game 2, I mean, they were right in there with you. You know what I mean? And it's like Winnipeg is going to be tried right now, and if that's what it's going to be, and St. Louis they're playing grindy hockey. So I still think Winnipeg comes out of that series. They're leading it 2-0 right now. But
the more parity that there is in the league, you're going to get, the more you're going to get like this, no?
No, I would agree with that. And I think it's better. That something like that is better for the league.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I think it's exactly what the league wants.
Yeah.
Like we had the last couple of years, right? Coming right down to the wire to the last day. Not all the series were decided. I think that's what they want. And it is exciting. And more fan bases get to be sort of involved in that excitement. So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and you're right. As the numbers get closer and closer, then you start like, all right, well, the likelihood of them making the playoffs just gets smaller and smaller, or larger and larger, right? Depending where you are in the standings. And so I think I agree with you 100%. That's where the league wants to go, and I think that's where the league needs to go. I just want to. So Vegas and Minnesota had 1 game, but did you guys see the buzzer beater goal? The controversy behind that because of the Vegas odds, the over under.
Oh yeah,
no, I did not.
The puck.
And so there's 2 betting odds off of that, because there's a line that you have Vegas winning by 1.5 goals, and there's a line of over-under, and the over-under of the game of total goals scored was set at 5.5, and the score was originally 3-2. Puck goes in with less than a tenth of a second to go, made it 4-2. So that literally flipped a bunch of bets.
But someone slowed it down at zeros. That puck was not in the net.
So I'm glad you brought that up. The clock that is shown is not the actual clock. The way those timers go, because they go by tenths and then the hundredths of a second. Even though it shows 0.0, if you push it over to the right a little more, it would be like 0.09 or 0.08.
Okay. Well, then I'm sorry. You can't do that.
I know.
You can't do that in the NHL. You can't do that because then there is a level, as speaking from a scientific perspective, there is a level of uncertainty with one of those decimal points.
Listen, I agree with you. It's weird, but that's what the reason why they did it.
It's not a race.
You cannot justify that. If you're going to show or display a clock that says 00, that is your significant figure. That is your standard. That is what you're displaying to everybody, which means that is the standard of which you need to go by.
And for hockey, it's not like a race. So you don't need those extra digits. Two are enough.
Because then you could just argue, well, I could go all the way to infinity. That number has no theoretical limit.
Right. I mean, but either way, it would still be the same time frame, though.
Not really, because if you want to, like I said, if you want to go in terms of theory, a number can infinitely approach 0. So what's your standard? And if that's going to be your standard, display it.
No, I get what you're saying, but the amount of time accumulated would still be the same exact, even with that.
But if it was one digit over, so one more.
You don't round up.
No, I agree. It should be shown. It should be shown. I agree with you there. I'm just saying that merit doesn't hold as much value as you think when it comes to the infinite amount of numbers that get listeners. We're talking fucking math on a friggin' a bet right now.
I think it was a bad call. They shouldn't have counted it. And if that's what you're going to show, I don't really care if you're going to say like, oh, well, there was actually 0.08. I'm like, well, then if it showed 0.08, the clock does not reach 0. Those are not how clocks are programmed.
Well, that's what it is, because I'm just telling you that's the way they do it.
But
it should be shown.
Whatever. The NHL needs to work on that because you could have someone make a subjective call on that without any evidence otherwise.
The question that should be asked is, based on that decision, who makes money?
Well, that's the problem. Listen, I'm just saying that's just part of the problem. Not that would have impacted the game. The game was Minnesota lost the game regardless. It was way before. It didn't matter. It was not impacting the results of the game. It was just impacting the results of a gambling prop. Which
that's why it should.
If you are, that's my problem. If you are not visually showing this or your evidence to suggest why that prop would change, you run into an ethical concern. So I think you need to fix the ethical concern.
I agree with that. You should just show it to the.
It's an ethical concern
because no game ever in my lifetime the clock went that extra digit. It never ever. So why?
No, it's been a standard.
Gambling, it does. And that's why
I don't think it has anything
money off of that.
No, I don't think it has. I don't think it has anything to do with the gambling. I think it has ethical implications with gambling. I just think that if you're gonna say that, then show the numbers on the clock to convince your fans. Like show your actual significant.
I agree
with.
And nothing has to do with gambling. I mean, why would it?
But
I'm not running away. I'm still here.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter. A small bit of a controversial goal that never really had any implications on anything, like whether it was a win or a loss. Minnesota was losing that game. They had possession of the puck. It was not, whether it counted or not, the game was over. It didn't matter. I just thought it was an interesting fact.
But shouldn't it be at that point, right? The game was over. So then, I'm not explaining it. At that point, if the game was over, the clock shouldn't be going on for a goal for gambling.
Sure.
What?
Well, if the clock ran down for the game, then that game is over. If there is any issue about the gambling,
that's what
gambling is irrelevant in this.
It's irrelevant. It's just an important fact that it just had additional implications. That's it.
Yeah. Well,
but imagine if that happens instead of the third period. Imagine that happens at the end of a second period. Like, you know what I mean? What's your standard? Because if that happened at the end of the second period, they probably won't allow the goal. You know what I mean? It's like I need to know where
They need to do it
that's
to a
coming
100th
from.
of a second.
Can
That
it-
much I agree. In the final 60
Can a
seconds.
coach go, I want to see another digit?
It should be to what you display on the screen. It shouldn't be none of that bullshit. None of that bullshit.
All right, anyway, we wasted too much time on freaking digits.
Whatever, I'm a
Anyway,
math guy.
the actual series
I
itself,
had not heard about this, by the way, though. That's the first time hearing about it.
the
It was an interesting thing.
Vegas-Minnesota series is the only series I didn't catch anything of yet. So I
It was
can't
just a
really
good-
give much feedback on that.
It was a good game.
Me
It
neither.
was
I
a
saw
good
nothing.
game. Back and forth. The final score is 4-2, 3-2 if you take away the empty netter. I mean, it was a good game. I think that's going to be another good series too. Just I
actually think
I like
Minnesota
it.
to upset them and shock everyone.
No, I have
No.
Minnesota losing in 5. So
That's why it would be an upset.
I have VGK winning that series too,
Yeah,
but I mean,
fine.
it's going to be I think it's going to be a grindy series. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think to be honest with you, coming out of the first round, I have Colorado, Winnipeg, VGK, and Edmonton. Edmonton's going to shock you, especially with what they nearly accomplished. last year.
Edmonton sucks. This is not the same Oilers team
No.
as last year. They have no depth. The number one defenseman is hurt. Stuart Skinner looks like a pud right now. And even though that they played great last night, I'm not convinced McDavid and Draisaitl are 100%. And to go a step further, the Kings' depth is way better than it was last year. The Kings are going to walk them in 5 games. Bookmark that.
If the Kings are going to win it, it'll probably be in 6. I think that series goes
6 at the
6
most,
There's
but I'm
your-
leaning 5. This
there's your
Oilers
bracket.
team is fucking fraudulent. That's the word I was looking for.
Here's Alex's bracket.
I mean, yeah. Whatever. It doesn't.
Alex's bracket's screwed. With
Yeah, I will say
Dallas.
the Blues pick doesn't look that good. I will acknowledge that.
Your Dallas pick doesn't look that good.
It's 1-1.
That's what
I get it. I get it.
The
And Mexican might come back next game.
Dallas
It's
Dallas isn't a bad pick. I mean, that's going to be a good series. The Blues pick is fucking terrible. Like,
Yeah,
I
that
can't
one
believe
I
you
don't
picked
feel
that
good
one.
about right now.
That
I'm gonna
one was
say-
really bad.
Eric had Colorado.
I want to say in that
And
Blues series,
then
Hellebuck had
No,
a
which one's
crap
coming
first
on?
period in the first game,
That's
and he's
mine.
been good since. I have to give him credit there.
Yeah, if we get the good Hollebuck in the playoffs, man.
Watch out for the Jets. I agree.
yeah, I took the Blues, but I think I might have made a mistake.
I don't know. I'm not really that concerned about how.
I want to see what
it's
they're
a
like.
whole new level.
I want to see what the game's like in St. Louis. Sorry for interrupting you, Cam.
No,
No, you're good. He was interrupting me, not you, Alex. I know you barely shut up, but like Christ,
Who's
buddy.
talking to him?
Like I know, Alex is like, it's okay, Rick. Alex is apologizing for me.
Isn't that nice?
Like, yeah, I would. Alex, you want to follow me around work all day, buddy? Like you can apologize for me all you want.
I'll
I'll
follow
get
you,
away
but I'm
with so
not going to
much shit.
apologize for you. I'm just going to start.
never
putting my
mind then. I'm
fingers
just
over
gonna-
your head like this.
Never mind then. I'll just start getting in trouble. No, I mean, if Bennington actually, you know what? I'll say this. If Bennington can play absolutely stone cold lights out, they have a chance of winning that series.
Yeah.
That he's going to need to show you 2019 Bennington. That's it.
This could be one of those series I was just talking about before, right? Where the home team wins it could stop at game 7, right? But a lot of series are like that. The home team wins.
I think
then
Bennington
it's the opposite sometimes where only the road team wins.
I
Until
think-
game 7.
I think Bennington, like Vasilevsky, has not lost a game 7. I don't think.
So, I
Right.
mean, you're right. St. Louis could still come out of it. You got to see how they play in St. Louis. Because if they win the 2 games in St. Louis, it's obviously a different series, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Fair.
And look at the Jets. I don't think the Jets really did much even at the trade deadline to get them to where they if they have a couple big guys go down, look out. I mean, that's
And
know,
all the President's Trophy jinx.
Well, they are down a couple of guys actually because Velarde and Ehlers aren't playing.
oh,
There
then
you
you
go.
crazy.
Right, it
Well,
was-
hell, that could also be impactful too. Listen, I like Winnipeg. I think they're a good team. They're going to
know.
win that series. I don't think they're going to beat VGK. VGK is just bigger, meaner, and deeper.
But isn't that in the opposite bracket?
That what she said last night, though?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Especially the deeper part.
What do you mean? Is that in the opposite bracket?
Yeah, not opposite bracket, but like they're in the opposite part of the conference, so they wouldn't even meet them in the second round.
Yeah, they would.
No, they wouldn't. If
Winnipeg's in
Winnipeg
the
wins, they
Central,
get the Dallas, Colorado winner.
Right.
Oh.
They only meet in the conference final. They
Yeah.
can meet.
Oh,
Vegas
no, yeah,
would-
you're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
Vegas would get the
Sorry.
Edmonton and Kings winner.
Yeah,
AKA
I'm sorry. I don't think Winnipeg beats Dallas or Colorado, depending
I
on
don't either. But I think they give them a better fight than I originally thought.
I think Colorado and Dallas are just too fast. They're just, I mean, McCarr and McKinnon are just carrying,
Okay,
and I mean, they're getting scoring up and down the lineup.
But what you're saying is the best team in the regular season isn't good enough to beat Dallas or Colorado?
Yeah.
Well, you have to think about it this way also. Like Winnipeg had a really, really hot start to the season.
Yeah.
So they accumulated a lot of points at the beginning.
And they
didn't have a good ending.
Colorado
It's a good point,
completely
Eric.
rebuilt their team. And
Yep.
so it's not the same Colorado from like the first half of the season.
No,
To me, I think Colorado is the most complete team.
that's why I picked
So
them all the way.
though, even though they didn't win the Presidents, I think they're still the most
Yeah,
complete.
you
team
could win the
right there.
President's Trophy. It doesn't matter. I think the last team that had the President's Trophy to win the Cup was Tampa Bay. I think, what was that, 2020?
It doesn't happen often. There's a thing to it, I believe, the Jinx. It
There
doesn't
is.
happen often that the President's Trophy winner does end up being the Cup winner.
And Eric, for the second year in a row, the Flyers are going to have the Cup winners' first round pick. Yay, us!
Yeah, probably.
Whatever.
I'm-
I mean, hey, it's
What?
better than something. It's better than
I think
nothing.
Colorado wins. So
What pick do you
That's what
have
I'm
that's going to be the Cup winner? You got Colorado's pick?
We have Colorado and Edmonton's.
Well, listen,
Okay.
the hardest team the team that has the hardest path to the Cup, probably Edmonton.
Oh, for sure.
Probably Edmonton, just because of the injuries that they have and everything else. Probably Edmonton.
At least in the Western
Montreal.
Conference.
Are you kidding me?
For the whole NHL, it's New Jersey.
No, because here's the thing with Montreal. Like at
I said
Montreal,
New Jersey, not Montreal.
No, I said Montreal's
No.
probably got the hardest road to the Cup. No?
Alex, I know this is
No,
hard.
I don't
but
agree with that because the Metro is weak.
yeah, the Metro.
Alex, I know this is hard, and this may be even more difficult for you to believe, but those two things on your head are called ears. If you open them up every once in a while, you might be able to hear Rick.
Shut up.
Speaking of that, wouldn't you guys agree, though? It's the playoffs. It's a new season.
Yeah.
So you can sort of judge what happened in the regular season, but it doesn't mean that. So teams you're going to look at and say, yeah, like Montreal, they ain't got no chance. That doesn't necessarily mean that's true.
I'm judging who has the hardest path to the Cup because of that. That's why Montreal does not have the hardest path. Montreal, as far as I'm concerned, has a complete-ish team. They have defense. The Montembeault was great last night and stopped pucks that should have been in the back of the net. Their Capitals' first 3 shots on net were really good chances. So credit to Montembeault.
Montembeault's been top 5 in goals saved above expected since the Four Nations.
And they did mention that last night too. He's been excellent. And then a lot of your young guys rose to the occasion. You got to remember, you're playing against a modern. You're playing against a decently older Capitals team. You know, not as much speed on that. They play heavier than they do to Montreal.
Well, they're bigger. They're a little bit bigger overall.
Yeah. New Jersey is hurting big time. They're not going to make it past Carolina. Carolina also has some depth issues. So the Metro is weaker in many ways.
I'm just saying that it's the playoffs, right? So you never know. A team, you say it's a weaker division, and in the playoffs, maybe 2 of those teams just play lights out.
That doesn't mean
We don't know yet.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that their path is the hardest. You know what I mean? I'm judging it based on what I've seen. So, like, you know, they then have to either go through Florida or whatever, or let's just say they win that series. I don't even know how that would work out, right? Because then you're going to have 2 divisional rounds, basically. The Atlantic is going to own it.
I just
for the most part
sympathy for my team. That's all.
Oh no, they would play Carolina, right? Alex, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So then you play
solid.
Carolina. You're gonna get there, like sure, but then in the ECF, then you play what? Either Toronto, Florida, or Tampa, and I'm sorry, you're not beating one of those teams.
Okay, but wait. So that makes what I'm saying, I think, valid, because then that is a hard road to get there. So I'm saying if Montreal gets to the final, they might have had the hardest road. I'm not saying it's for sure.
No, because
but
here's
it
the
could
thing.
be
Look at
that,
Edmonton.
how it turns out.
I can't agree with that, Rick. The hardest road would be the Devils. Here's why. You start with Carolina, who is playing above expectations, right? Then you probably get Washington, who is the number 1 team in the conference. Then you get the team that I mentioned to begin with. But those 3 teams out of the conference. So I got to say, it would probably be the Devils. And the Devils are worse than Montreal. If you told me the Devils and Habs currently constructed right now with playing the series, I'd pick the Habs. The Devils are so badly injured, it's not even funny.
I'd put the Devils at third.
Respect for the Habs. What's going on?
I
here?
would put the
Got a
Devils
pinch
at third
myself
for the
here.
hardest path to the
Oh,
cup.
no,
I would
okay.
put
The Devils are the
Edmonton.
worst team in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I would
pinch
put
myself.
I would put Edmonton first, like, you know what I mean, just because of what they're injured with, and they really only have Draisaitl and McDavid. At least in New Jersey, they have Nico Hischier, Timo Meier, and a lot more than that. I mean, sure, people can argue,
so overrated.
maybe, but like
got
they
better
had
Jesper
just
Bratt would have been a better example. That
Better
kid,
Jesper
goaltending.
Brett. I mean, they also have what is it? They have Jacob Slate. Is it? No, I'm sorry, Brett Pesce.
Brett Pesce.
Yeah,
They got better goaltending, and
Yeah,
they
I
do.
would
They
think.
do. I will say that. Markstrom's a good goalie.
Yeah, but Edmonton's going to. I mean, if they don't get healthier, I would argue that they're the hardest team. The second hardest, but that might be Colorado or Dallas. It's a tie between those two, considering they have to get through each other. Then they have to get through Winnipeg,
Right, Winnipeg.
and then
Probably Vegas.
And then
Honestly,
probably
that's a
Vegas
big
in the
one.
conference
It's
final.
like, you know what I mean? Like, though, that's probably the second hardest to probably get through.
I would even say that's probably the hardest, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
that is probably the hardest now that we're
Yeah.
talking about it that way. Honestly, I'd say Dallas has the hardest path now we're talking about it, because Colorado, who looks like the most complete team, then Winnipeg, who's the President's Trophy winner, and then probably Vegas or the Kings in the West.
What about Toronto? They got 58 years of stuff.
Yeah, but
Okay,
Ottawa
but that's
the
more
hardest
no,
road.
that's more mental. They're gonna get past Ottawa. I don't.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
had to throw that in there. Knock it.
I'll say this: I have Ottawa winning that series in my bracket because it's a
Me
fucking
too.
meme, and I want the meme to live on that
Oh, I
Toronto
do
can't
too.
exit out of the first round. But hold on, we'll have to get to Toronto in a second. Actually, we'll start off with them in the ECF as soon as I'm done with this point. They're gonna get past Toronto, depending if they play Tampa. I see them beating Tampa. If they play Florida, I don't see them beating Florida because Florida is bigger, heavier, and play a much nastier game than Toronto does, despite having Greg Berube as a coach.
I'm just concerned about Florida's health at that point then. Because already you have like Marchand, who's been injured most of the year. And then you have Matthew Tkachuk. He's my big question mark in how far Florida is going to go is Matthew Tkachuk. How healthy is he? Are we talking about like 80%, 90%, 100%, or even lower? Because, man, that injury looked really bad at Four Nations.
It did.
Yeah, and
they still have Barkov, Rodriguez, Sam Bennett. They still got a hell of a deep lineup.
Get Ekblad back game 3.
They get Ekblad back game 3. Anton Lundell they have so many pieces. Carter Verhaeghe. It's just really hard to look at that team and be like, they have AJ Greer in the back end, Jesper Boquist, Adam Boat. They're built. You know what I mean?
For their sake, I hope Verhaeghe comes back to playoff form because he's been
he's been struggling a lot this year.
That's fine, but like like you said, it's the playoffs. It's Rick said, it's the playoffs. It's a new season, man.
Yeah.
To be honest,
my biggest concern is how if the games go very long against Tampa, Bobrovsky's health. There's the concern.
I was gonna just say I'm trying to get this in, but Bob could be a big the Florida's chances could hinge on how Bob plays, literally, right? If he's not great, I don't know. He's got to be great. I think for them to go far, but I still think they could beat Toronto. I wanted just to say this about Tkachuk. If Tkachuk was 100% healthy, they were just waiting for the playoffs. Don't you think that the way they sort of backed into the playoffs, that they would have had him out there playing, or they couldn't afford it? I don't know how the cap situation was, but
They could have afforded it. They could have afforded it because of the Ekblad suspension.
Right. So then if he wasn't there in the last 4 or 5 games when they kind of needed him to be there because they didn't want to finish where they finished, then he must maybe not be 100%.
No, I don't think he is. And I think he's just he's coming back to the playoffs, but I don't think he's 100%.
Yeah.
I will say this about Tampa. You better not underestimate Andrei Vasilevsky. That Tampa Bay team looks better than they have the last 3 years. This is the best Tampa team they've had since their last cup win, in my opinion.
Well, Vasilevsky has found the fountain of youth. Jake Gensel's working out with them. Braden Point's playing very well. Nikita Kucherov is arguably carrying the team. The defense has come together a little bit, but the problem with the defense is Victor Hedman's getting a little bit older. He's 34 now. You have Ryan McDonough, like Chernak, sure, but I just don't see. They
added some good depth at the deadline too. You added Yanni Gorg, you brought him back. And
yeah,
Albert
I agree.
So
I agree. They added some good depth
in Florida.
They did. They added some good depth at center. I'm not saying that there's no possibility of it, but I feel like their top six is really going to need to carry them through that, especially against Florida, and they're going to need to grind it. But John Cooper is an amazing coach, and but so isn't Paul Maurice. So I'm excited to see this coaching battle, and that's where it's going to go. Vasilevsky has an edge because he's a younger goaltender. But if Bobrovsky pulls what he pulled last year in Game 7 pretty consistently, because I'll say this flat out, I think Edmonton could have easily won Game 7 last year if Bob didn't stand on his head.
Yeah,
people can say what they want. Florida fans can just say I'm a Boston fan hating on Florida. I'm like, go watch that game again and tell me that Edmonton did not take it to you. Like they
did.
They were going.
But if Bob plays like last season, then maybe that's an edge to Tampa, because he wasn't very good in the first two, I think.
No, he was good against Boston.
No, they had to bring in Alex Lyon. He was either injured or they had to bring in line for a reason. I thought it was because he wasn't great in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah,
that's what I remember.
But I will say this: if there is one goalie on the planet you're telling me to win me one game in a must-win game in the entire NHL right now, I don't care. Give me Andrei Vasilevsky. That dude has proven it time and time again. He's won 2 cups. He's won plenty of massive games. If you're telling me this is going to a Game 7 and it's Bob versus Vasi, give me the Bolts. Because that is probably the only team in the entire playoffs that knows how to win more than, at least in the East, that knows how to win more than Florida right now. I know Florida's made the cup the last 2 years, but Tampa still got the majority of their core that they won their 2 cups with. You still got Point. You still got Kucherov. You still got Hedman, Paul. You still got Vasilevsky.
Really?
That Bolts team, something feels different about them this year. They got that feel that they had 3 years ago.
Yeah. No, I mean, I still just don't. I don't know. I still think Florida comes out of that. I think it gets a grind of a series. Don't get me wrong, but I think
it goes 7. I think that's going to be the best.
That's what I have.
The best series of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, so don't I. I think that's going to be the most exciting to watch, and there's going to be no question about it.
Ottawa.
I mean, why don't we actually save them for last? Because I'm gonna go on tirades on Toronto. New Jersey, Carolina, boring. Not even fun to watch. Can't even tell you how unexciting. Unless you're a Canes fan. Sorry,
I mean, the Devils probably played the worst playoff game they could have played in Game 1. They were railroaded, and I know the score was only, I think, 4-1. There was a point the shots were in favor of Carolina 36-9 at one point. That's lunacy. And to go a step further, the Devils had Brendan Dillon, who is playing tonight, thankfully for them, Luke Hughes, who's not playing tonight, and Cody Glass. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Brendan Dillon's out tonight. Cody Glass is playing tonight. I got it mixed up. But Cody Glass is playing tonight. But Brendan Dillon, who got hurt in that game, he's out. And Luke Hughes, who is probably their best offensive defenseman, him or Dougie Hamilton, he's out. So that puts New Jersey in a bind where they're already out. Jack Hughes is their best player in general. The Devils are going to have some real trouble scoring this entire series. That's why I picked the Canes to win this. The Canes have such a stifling D-core to begin with. I've always been high on Carolina's defense the last couple years, and I just don't see how New Jersey keeps up with them in any level of shootout. They're going to have Markstrom just bail them out for any shot.
And Markstrom hasn't been good. He hasn't. It's just flat out. I don't think so. I don't.
In the playoffs or recently?
Recently, I don't think he's been that good right now.
Recently, no, but I honestly, even that Game 1 Like I think it could have been way worse than 4-1.
Yeah, I
Oh,
actually
oh.
agree with Eric.
Yeah,
there.
sure.
I mean,
Like,
he's actually
yeah,
playing pretty good
they saw
tonight.
45 shots. I'm not gonna, but I mean, it's still to me he hasn't been the worst goaltender in this series in the playoffs yet. No,
No.
by no stretch. But
That would be Stuart Skinner.
actually, Allmark's been bad.
Did you see some of the goals Stuart Skinner let in last night? Oh my God!
I don't know, man, but Allmark wasn't really giving his team much of a chance to win against Toronto. It was pretty. I watched that game. I was even looking. I'm like, dude, some of those you really had to have. You really got to track the
I'm gonna
puck
make
better.
a little proclamation. Linus Ullmark is pretty much playoff version of Stuart Skinner. That means he struggles in the playoffs.
2-0 Toronto, by the way. Anybody was wondering.
So, anyway, no, I still think the New Jersey Carolina series is going to be boring. Carolina's going to come out of that. It's a clear winner. There's no even debate about it. Montreal and Washington might be the second most exciting out of the East to watch. I think I actually really thoroughly enjoyed watching that game the other night, despite the outcome for poor Rick. But I mean, I like the outcome, but
Wasn't a horrible outcome.
no, I thought it was great. I thought your team did well. I thought they fought back. I thought they did a whole lot of things right. I think Montembeault was good. It shows great future prospects for what Montreal is going to be capable of in the coming years. I thought it was exciting for Montreal fans
And
to look at it.
It bodes well for the rest of the series.
No, so I think it'll be great.
They had Washington on their heels in the third period, and I mean, overtime, anything could happen, right? And that you get one break and it's over the game. So that's what happened there. But Montreal, I think Montreal had them worried, and I think they're going to think about that game tomorrow night.
I'll say that. No, and I think the biggest problem with that game and why the Capitals didn't further their lead was they took their foot off the gas. If you look at the first period, first period.
It's not what happened, in my opinion. It's not that Montreal woke up. Montreal found their game. They found their game about midway through the first. You could see it starting to happen, and that's what I was reading. So, yeah.
You're a hockey analyst. You make your own opinions. Don't read. Do. Talk to me, Goose.
No, I'm open-minded and intelligent. So when I get new information, I can change my mind.
No, you can't. That's against the rules.
Okay, Boomer.
Not against her. Call me a Boomer. I have no problem with that.
No, I think you're serious. But I do. I think the Montreal Cap series might be the second best series in the East.
Yeah. I will say this.
I hope.
If
game one was any indicator. Sorry, Alex.
I think Washington's defense is going to be the difference here. I think Washington's D-core as a whole is a lot better than Montreal's. I mean, Hudson's a stud, obviously. I like Caden Gooley's game. He played a pretty solid game as well. But the Habs have, 2 or 3 defensemen they feel good about? I think Washington's entire D-core is good.
We managed to break through it in time.
I mean, that's nice and all. I'm just saying, if you're talking the cosmos of a 7-game series.
On paper,
yeah. I'm taking that's the big difference is Washington has a much better D-core.
You also have
to good thing they don't hand out the Stanley Cup on paper.
No, it is. That's why you play the games.
No, they hand it out on a table.
Yeah.
There you go. No, yeah, and then it's skated around the ice. And then
no.
With it.
But Faravari is injured too, so he missed game 1. Think about that too.
He's out for the playoffs.
Oh yeah. They did update that. Oh, I thought it was. I thought he had
surgery. He's gone meniscus.
Yeah. So which is sad.
Yeah,
because he was huge.
No, but if Montreal wants any chance of winning this series, look, it's not that they played bad or anything, Montreal, but at the end of the day, I know this is sound cliche, but you got to show up for 60 minutes. You can't just be don't show up for a period or half a period or a period and a half or whatever, and then hope to come back. And then you can't always rely on your goalie also to bail you out either.
I would challenge you on that.
But
if Montembeault doesn't play half as well as he did, that game could have been over way before it was.
In my lifetime, I saw the Habs win at least 2 or 3 based on purely on the fact that the goalie stole that series, the cup, the win.
No, for sure.
So it's possible, and I have no problem with that. But when you say they didn't play the 60 minutes, I think you're wrong in this way. Where they lacked was at the beginning of the game, and they played the rest of the game. So, like, it's not like they were good for 2 periods and then they fell off. It was the opposite. So that doesn't worry me.
No, but that's what I'm saying. You can't have slow starts in the playoffs.
Agreed, but it's their first time in the playoffs. A young team, like I could see that they took a little bit to get going. If that does continue through the series, you're right.
But that's what I'm saying. You can't let that become a trend.
No, it can't. I agree with that.
No. But I think a good showing for what Montreal in the future can have to offer. I mean, that's something to build on, right? I mean, take this. And I even said this, in the beginning of the year. I'm like, I had said earlier this year that I think Montreal makes a push to make the playoffs. Call me clairvoyant.
Well, I'm even more clairvoyant because I called it December 31st.
I think I called it the first episode of the season, buddy. So
you also called Nashville winning the cup.
Okay, that was off of vibes.
So
that was off of
the races
vibes only.
I had to throw that barb in there.
Come on, hold on.
No. Gentlemen, remind me, where is Nashville in the
bottom of
draft
the league?
lottery?
What a bird! What a fucking horrible nightmare that was. Come on, tell me you wouldn't take one look in that roster, say that they didn't win the offseason, and then tell me that you didn't at least have them.
Listen, there's been plenty of teams that have won the offseason and crap their pants after.
Yeah, they did. 100%. 100% they did. They absolutely crapped their pants, and I absolutely hate myself for picking them.
I can best you one way. I called their points totals to have.
Oh, well, look at me.
I have 91 points just missing. That's pretty close.
God, yeah. Good. You want a fucking cookie?
Yeah, listen.
Your team's in the playoffs. Enjoy it, buddy.
Listen,
your goalie actually played well for once.
Close is good in hockey, horseshoes, and hand grenades, okay? So,
God. It only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
I had Cole Caulfield's goal total. Not too many people had it.
I didn't realize this was Pap superlatives.
I had a few good guesses. A few really good ones that I was right on.
Okay. What? Anything else?
Josh Anderson?
No, I want you to continue, Rick, please.
15,
what else did you have?
I'm going to. You're asking me. I'm going to do that. No, I pat myself on the back enough tonight. Oh, thank you. All right. I'd like to thank my mother and father. All right, let's go on now, please.
Your time's over.
Moving ahead.
Well, the last series in the East is Toronto, Ottawa, which this is more on. I mean, congrats to Ottawa for making the playoffs. Olmark is really hurting you. I'm sorry, he has not been good. And to be honest with you, the team hasn't. The reffing in that series has also been equally as god awful.
It's like you said, he's the hellebuck of this year.
However, I want to have a discussion around Toronto. I mean, I hope Ottawa makes it a series. I hope it's fun to watch and whatever. It's two Canadian teams going at it, and it was very chippy in the first game. So the first game was very exciting to watch, despite the score. But if Toronto does not win the cup this year, I am going to be hard pressed to say that they're going to have an easy time over the next few years to get there.
Okay, I'm going to say when Toronto doesn't win the cup this year, I agree with Cam.
I said this about Toronto this year, and I've always been on the Bash Toronto, we love the memes train. And this is a big if. But when I say this statement, I don't think it'll happen. I'm just saying if it happens. If Toronto gets past the second round and beats Florida or Tampa and gets that silverback gorilla off their chest, I think they win it all. And that is a massive if. I don't think they do it. I'm saying if they do it, to get that Florida or Tampa monster off of you, to get that second round demon off of you, to tell yourself that you got to the conference finals, to get a probably pretty winnable matchup, whoever wins the Metro, whether it's Washington or Carolina or whoever,
Montreal,
whoever it might be.
Well, I think you can
momentum you
erase
have from
that if
that,
it's Montreal.
and the confidence you have, and you have Berube and a goaltending situation that's a lot better than it's been in years. If Toronto gets past the second round, I think they will win it all.
Not if they face Montreal. And I'm not saying this because I'm a Habs fan. If they have to face Montreal to get there, they're not doing it.
I'm telling you this right now.
know, Rick,
if they face Montreal, they'll win that series.
That's fine. I don't care what you guys say. I'm not going to change my mind.
That's fine.
But
I think Montreal will try to put up a fight, but man, I don't know.
I don't think. Listen, I don't know why we're having this conversation. Because I don't think Montreal's even going to get past Washington.
That's fair. That's
Montreal
fair. No, hypothetically,
we're talking about.
Hypothetically,
watch out. That's the Cinderella team right there.
Eric, what do you think if the Toronto Maple Leafs can't win the Cup this year? How do you think their chances are going to be? Because I think this for them, it is do or die.
Hey, wait, I got to add something. Remember, Eric, you're from Montreal.
This was not a question about Montreal. This was just a question if Toronto doesn't win it this year. Take a step back, Rick.
Rick was like a freaking cop that had a gun up to his head and says, remember, don't say the wrong thing, kid.
That's right.
I am. Look, I'm going to say something, though. First, to answer you, Rick, I am from Montreal. I am. Not a Canadiens fan. And actually, growing up, my favorite Canadian team was actually Ottawa Senators.
Well, we knew they had a fan. There's proof.
Well, Dakota's a fan, too, so they have at least two.
So...
Rick's nerd alarm just went off.
Oh, dear.
Oh man!
No, but yeah, look, Cam, yeah, if Toronto, I think personally has to get to at least the Eastern Conference Final this year. I don't think they have to win the Cup, but at least get to the Eastern Conference Final.
Right, or it's not a successful season. I don't care what you say.
No,
I think you're right.
It's not a successful.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But at least the Eastern Conference Final. And because look, they're gonna have some major decisions to make this offseason also, right? Because they got to resign to see if they're gonna resign Marner. What they do with Tavares. So
I don't think they're resigning Tavares, but go on.
I think they are.
I think they are.
Marner walk. To be
I
honest.
think they are, and it's just. But I don't think it's gonna be a big money deal. I think
no,
it's gonna
exactly.
Be like,
right.
I agree with Eric.
Four. I know it might be low, but maybe anywhere between 4.5 to 6. I think is what he's gonna get.
I agree with that. 100%.
And that extra money,
take the hometown discount. He loves Toronto.
That's right.
Well, you got to figure Matthew Nyes is going to get paid. He's going to get $7 million.
Yeah,
and that's why Marner's going.
Deservedly so.
But also the cap is going up too. So
yes,
so that extra cap money.
Marner's going to want $14 million on the open market.
Yep, and he'll get it too.
Yep, he will.
He'll get it.
I don't think he gets 14.
He'll get
You're
something.
talking about Chicago. They're talking about it, and they got the money, and he'll get 12.
He'll get 12 to 13.
He gets more than that. I think
he'll get 12 to
13.
He'll get 12 to 13. He's not going to get paid more than McKinnon.
If Toronto goes to the East, at the very minimum, the Eastern Conference Finals, I think Marner re-signs in Toronto, and it's not going to be for like 13, 14 million. I think he'll take that 11.5 to 12.
No way.
To stay in Toronto.
Speaking as a Jew, speaking as a fellow Jew he's Jewish. He's not taking less than he's.
I'm not in that.
Oy vey. I'm going to take less? Oy vey. I'm going somewhere else.
I get Chicago has the money and everything, but at the end of the day, like they're still in the midst of a rebuild and they're not there yet. So even if he does go to Chicago, he's not winning there for at least another 2-3 years.
Okay, but if they can get him, that's a huge piece for them. And he's got Bedard. I think that he can, that could be a really good unit right there. Maybe they can attract him. But how many teams have the money he's looking for?
I mean, listen. Toronto next year is projected to have about 26 point something million dollars in cap. So realistically, yes, they could sign Marner.
How many players do they have signed?
Again, they're going to do the same thing they've been doing, and not.
That's going to be my point. So then, what? You give Marner $13 million. You're probably going to give Matthew Nyes is not going to take anything less than 6.
7 probably.
7 probably with the way the cap projection is going up.
Yeah.
So then good. So now you have $6 million to sign, some players. You're pretty much locked up on defense. You're okay there. Because you have Carlo, Ekman Larson, you have all of that. So you're fine necessarily on defense, but then you're really strapped against the cap. You don't have a first round pick for this year or the next 2 years. You don't have a second round pick next year, a fourth round pick this year or next year. And you don't have a seventh round pick next year. I mean, that doesn't sound that bad, but like you don't have you really don't have much to deal with. So the way I see it is, and you got to look at it too, this year's free agency, not the strongest. Couple good players on there.
Top 6 are good, but after that, it really falls. Off. Yeah.
You have Ekblad, Besser, maybe Druin if you want to come up to Sam Bennett, Ehlers, but they're not getting Ehlers. I really doubt that. Ehlers is going to look
talking about
8 to 9.
Free agent.
Yeah.
I thought you said draft. I'm sorry.
No, I'm talking about free agents.
I don't know why I thought
but
that.
Outside of that, there's a lot of good depth guys, but not a lot of top 6 talent.
No, there's not. There's not, because Montreal looking for that kind of a center. I don't think they're going to find it that way.
No. So could Toronto do what they're doing and sign Marner? But I think I'm telling you, if for some reason Toronto loses in the first round again, Marner's gone.
Yeah, then I think
Marner's gone. Yeah,
because they tried to trade him last year. He said no.
Yeah.
So the fact that he waited this long for a UFA year, I think he was going to screw them over anyway because he knows he'll get more. And I bet you he'll go with Bedard. I like him in Chicago.
And they can trade his rights.
That's a good match for him.
And
I think that is
his rights
in
Chicago before he's a free agent.
He's a
look
UFA.
Out for Utah, by the way, with Marner.
Yeah, but they can trade the rights.
They can, but I bet you any amount of money, Chicago is not going to trade.
I'm going to give you
a wild
card team that desperately needs winger help.
Wait a second. Let me finish this. If
ahead.
Chicago wants really to get Marner, they'll trade for his rights because they'll give him a couple of weeks ahead of time to negotiate with him and to sign him before he actually goes to free agency.
That would make sense. I'm going to give you another team.
I don't think they do it. I don't think they do it that way, just simply because why would they give up draft capital or anything just to retain rights to a player that
because it gives you the head start.
It would, but no, it would need no, because no way.
That happens plenty of times. We did it with Kevin Hayes.
No way. Toronto's asking. Okay, you are not about to compare Kevin Hayes to a guy like Mitch.
All right, I'll give you another name that
not
just happened last year.
Close.
Jake Getzel. Jake Getzel's rights were traded.
That's right.
How for what though?
It was like a third-round pick.
You're not going to get a ton for the rights, but you're going to get something.
Exactly. It's the point of getting something than letting him walk for nothing.
Yeah, I still think Chicago. I think Chicago will take that risk, knowing that. They have the money to offer.
If I'm Chicago and you look at your team and say, do you want to give up, say, a fourth or third round pick? A third round pick, since we'll compete.
That might not be Toronto's asking price. That's the problem.
Toronto's asking price, they would take that because I know they're losing him for nothing.
Maybe.
They're not going to take it.
They're still going to try and see what.
Everyone would laugh in their face.
Tell me I'm wrong. They're still going to try and see what they can get for Mitch Marner. And if they're just like, oh, this person's offering me a third, I'm going to see if someone's going to offer me a second or a first. You know what I mean?
Never happen.
Well, that's right.
You never know.
I never know.
Chicago
I will tell you another team to watch for Marner, hypothetically. If he hits free agency, and this team desperately needs winger help, I've said it for a while, watch the Buffalo Sabres.
He's not going to go to Buffalo.
He's not going to Buffalo.
He's not going to Buffalo.
He's not going to Buffalo.
Money talks.
He's not going to. Yeah, money talks, but even Marner doesn't.
They have to pay him.
Marner does. There's only one worse place than playing in Toronto, and that's playing for the Buffalo Sabres.
Chicago's a big market. An original 6 team. This is an attractive place to go if you're a guy like Marner. I don't see why that wouldn't be.
And you're playing with another top-end talent in the form of Connor Bedard. Another guy who can influence your point production. Because let's be real.
There's pieces there.
Yeah. Chicago, I believe, is the most likely landing spot for Mitch Marner, unless someone comes out of that. If the Buffalo Sabres land him, okay, well then there goes his career. So anyone who goes to the Sabres is screwed. So I don't know what you want. Actually, no, good. I hope Toronto does actually trade him to Buffalo or trade his rights because they'll probably get Bo Byram or Owen fucking Power in return because their GM doesn't know how to do anything.
No way. No one would do that.
So I don't know. Have you seen Buffalo?
I get Buffalo's in
14
confidence,
years
but
out of the
no one-
playoffs.
no one's
Yeah,
that
trust
dumb.
me. No, okay, fine. So maybe they re-sign Tavares. What if they don't? What if they sign Sam Bennett instead? $8 million for Sam Bennett, second
Who?
line center, Toronto.
Why would Toronto need to sign Sam Bennett if they bring back Tavares?
But I would much rather have Sam Bennett than Tavares.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know about
Tavares
that.
had a good
Tavares
season.
had a nice rebound.
Tavares
year.
had a good, Tavares may have had a good season, but he has not been good for them historically in
And
the playoffs.
also, Toronto's management is kind of stupid, so I could see them doing this.
Maybe. No good. Go ahead. Fine. Let him. But he's gonna have to take a hometown discount. But if I'm looking for a better player and a grindy player that I would want to go in the corners, I'm going for Sam Bennett because unfortunately that's what Toronto needs. They need those fucking players.
But
Ryan
maybe
Reeves is not helping you.
If Sam Bennett's a friend of Ryan O'Reilly, he's not going to Toronto. Do you see O'Reilly wouldn't go? They offered him a contract. He wouldn't go back there. He didn't want to go anything to do with Toronto.
Ryan O'Reilly just doesn't genuinely want to go to Toronto anyway because he said in that
But he was
playoff
there.
run that it was horrible.
They had him.
I know. He said it was a bad experience.
He knows that's what I'm saying. It was not a good experience. So,
and I wouldn't want to go play for Toronto right now either. That team's cursed.
Yeah, I would.
I don't think that they win the cup this year, and I think they're going to have some decisions to be made too. Like, do you try to re-sign Mitch Marner, a kid who's 27, 28 years old for an 8-year deal, $13 million? You're probably going to have to attach an NMC to that or something to make it tantalizing.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, wherever he goes, he's getting an NMC.
Or if he's willing to take a hometown discount, you definitely have to give him an NMC. There's no even question about it. Not a modified no trade list. If he's willing to say like, I'll take 12 million instead of the 14, give you 2 million back, then you're going to be like, well, shit, what else do you want with it? There's going to need to be some guarantees from that team.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they sign him, but I don't know. I don't think they're going to.
No, I think they let him walk. And I don't know if someone's going to trade for his rights because they know he's going to walk. Even if it's getting a first chance. And I like I said, I think Chicago would have the best opportunity to landing him just because of the money situation.
It makes
and
sense.
because of the amount of talent that's going to be surrounding Mitch Marner and a guy like Connor Bedard around him. And that's going to be what helps lift Bedard up a bit more.
And they're getting another top pick.
Yep.
So I could see him going to Chicago. Makes sense to me.
Yep. And it's a big market. Mitch Marner clearly likes playing in big markets. Although he likes crying on the bench too, so we're going to see how that goes.
Well, with Chicago, the first few years, he'll have plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, I love crying.
So
actually, I don't know. Chicago, if their defense can find it, they got their goalie in Spencer Knight.
They're still not.
They're not. They're not cup contenders. No. They're not cup contenders, but they are starting to piece it together.
Yeah, I agree. No, that's why it's another reason why I think that would be a team that if he wants to win, he could look and say, it might not be the first 2 years, but there's a possibility down there. I can't say the word in a couple of years, to be making playoffs, and who knows?
Yeah, or maybe Mitch Marner does go somewhere else that is a cup contender. Vegas will probably sell every player on their fucking team to get him because that's just what they do.
But can they afford? Again, can they afford him? He's not going.
No.
If the only place I see him signing for like a discount is Toronto.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't do that there, he's not going as a free agent for cheap anywhere.
No. But that's what I think. I just wanted to, get your guys' thoughts on, where Toronto might stand if they lose the playoffs. They're going to be in the playoffs again next year.
Yeah.
But they are definitely in win now mode because I think they're going to losing a guy like Marner. That's big because you're not going to
win now. I agree.
Yeah. Brock Besser is not going to simply replace him. You know what I mean? What talent do you have down in the minors that can come up and replace? It's all about who do you have that can replace a guy that gives you 90 to 100 points a season? I don't think you have that.
You're going to need. I do want to say this, but for one little tidbit that's a little off topic from the playoffs, real quick. Did you hear what Jim Rutherford said in Vancouver yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh,
with the Hughes?
My God, that was dumb.
Now that's called soft tampering.
No kidding. Who says that? He pretty much said, "Oh yeah, Quinn Hughes. I know he wants to play with his brothers, And I'm not saying that he'll go there, but maybe we can get them here. You're not supposed to do that, my guy. You're not supposed to mention other players and other teams and tell them you're actively going for them in a friggin' interview. You're going to get a call from the league, my guy. I'm going to tell you that right now. Jersey's not going to like that one bit. That's effed up.
Yeah.
That was one of the most boneheaded things I've seen for about 3 hours, and then I saw the move Seattle made.
Oh, I have that. It's in French, but this is what it says.
No, it's okay.
So Seattle promoted Ron Francis to president of hockey ops and made Jason Botterill, who is the brother of Jennifer Botterill on the panel on Sportsnet.
You went from Ron Francis and got an even worse version of Ron Francis and Jason Botterill. This guy sucked in Buffalo. Absolutely sucked.
Oh, that's right. He was in Buffalo. That's why. Right.
Hold on. Real quick. Poll for the group. Who didn't suck in Buffalo?
Yeah.
I mean,
And
that's fair, but
I want to give him the benefit of the doubt for Buffalo because there was a lot when he got fired. There's a lot of stuff that came out about Pagula and how he was handcuffing him. And
It's the Pagulas.
So
you know what? That is a fair argument. I can't.
They kick you in the vagula.
I do. What? I did not expect that answer. The veg gula. But yeah, honestly, when it comes to, I still don't like that. And Dan Biles am I getting fired after a year after he won back-to-back titles. And what league was he in? Was he in the AHL?
he
Kachuk
lost
is
back-to-back
such an
finals,
idiot.
no?
Oh, he got the back-to-back championship.
That's fine. They give more options to Boston. We have Peter Laviolette now. I'm all set with that.
You don't
Unless
want
it's
to
very.
He's washed, man.
No, I know. Unless it's extremely short term.
I wouldn't even do that.
And
Was that a
Dan
big problem?
Bilesma's a good one. Mike Sullivan would be a good one if they decided to get rid of him. I mean, I'm
I
just
think
looking at
Sully would have
options
been
here.
canned by now. I think he's.
No, he's not going
I-
anywhere.
I think Gerard Gallant would be great for Boston.
No defense, just go.
I'm going to tell you who I want in Philly. Jay Woodcroft.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Aren't you guys tired of recycled coaches? Don't you?
Woodcroft isn't a bad coach. I mean, David.
So who
Carl
am I
is
going to
my
hire?
call
Fucking Patrice
Like, he's
Bergeron
not
as a
gonna
Dano Chara? Like what do you like? What
Well, do something like
What about
maybe
Mark
like what
Savard?
Montreal did, or just get a new age kind of
Mark
coach.
Savard? I
not-
think
Maybe Carl.
Mark
Not-
Savard is with Toronto right now as an assistant coach, and I'm all set on Mark Savard.
I would love
Get a
David
new
Carl.
age coach. That's what I would do.
Okay, fine. Hire me as the fucking coach.
No, they
Toss my
want to
resume
win,
out
but
there.
they want to
One
win,
next year.
Cam. They want to win, not lose.
I can get them a win.
Well,
You never said how many. You just had to say they wanted to win. Okay.
they
Well,
want
I want to win
They
too.
want to win many times.
Okay. Well, I can get them 2 wins. That's many times. That's too many times than they probably deserve. But like, oh man. All right, guys. Closing thoughts and remarks for the people.
I think by this time next week, 2 series will be completed. I think Carolina will have completed the sweep on New Jersey.
I don't know if it's gonna be sweet.
And I'm going to also say Winnipeg will have won their series. That's my closing remark.
Well, I guess I'll go. My closing remark is finally the Islanders did something a little bit smart.
Oh, my God. Lou is gone.
They fired.
Oh, we didn't talk about that.
Lou was retired.
We didn't. How did we not talk about that?
I know. Good save. I completely forgot about that. Lou
All right, if you guys want to hit it for
Lamoriello.
another 5 minutes, I'm down. So, but yeah, I know. Like, it's about fucking time, man. Like, that guy was delusional to think that team had any
Yeah,
chance.
he was old as shit. What do you want? Like the guy was on prune juice for lunch and dinner. Like he skipped breakfast.
Okay, but let me say this: isn't that the same thing with Rutherford?
He needs to go too.
Right?
Rutherford just
Yeah.
built her up, man, and called it a career. That was one of the dumbest
Yeah.
things I've ever seen.
Yeah. All right, that was a good quick take on Lou Lamoriello.
Yeah, that's yeah. Anyway, but it is about time that he moved on.
Sure, Rick. Closing thoughts for the peeps.
Go Habs, go! That's all I gotta say.
My closing remarks. Fuck the Habs. No. No, I'm just kidding, Rick. I'm
Can we
happy.
give a score
Playoffs,
update, or
though.
is that frowned upon?
What was that?
Can we give a score update, or is that frowned upon? Because we
No.
got
You don't get no score updates.
2-0 Toronto over Ottawa.
That wasn't what I was going to say, but okay. I was going to do the other one. Carolina beat New Jersey 3-1, so they're officially up 2-1.
Sweep.
No one respects the whistle.
2-1 or 2-0 on that?
2-0. Carolina's up.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be a sweep. New Jersey might get one game out of that, but that's about it.
I called it in 5.
I think everybody gets one. Everybody gets one.
Yeah.
You get a win. You get a win. I'm the fucking Oprah of wins, except Boston.
There more than likely will be a sweep in round 1.
That's going to be the sweep.
Probably.
If there is one, that's the one.
Yeah, it's going to be the Capitals against Montreal. No, I'm just kidding.
Montreal's not going
Rick's going to fire me from this podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Pucking A Round podcast. That was a long Pucking A Round. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify, find us on Twitter, find us on Bluesky. Find us on our website at don'tpuckwithmedia.com. That is don'tpuckwithmedia.com. We have blogs up there, mainly posted by Rick because Nordy doesn't like to do anything except complain. Just kidding, Nordy. We love you. He's not here tonight, so I can't really bully him. Yeah, guys, just make sure to listen to all of our other sister shows in the form of Flyer Gonna Flyer with the Alex Fernett over there and the handsome Manson over there, Filibuster, Eric Martino, and of course Hibernation, hosted by myself and my team of misfits in the form of Vibe Captain Matty V and the Higmeister. And yeah, also have normals.
Give Jamey some love and Flyer.
Oh, and of course, dude, the handsomest of us all, Jamey Bascow.
There we go.
Guy's professional photo looks like him. He's about to slay. All right, guys, and we're about to go lay down. That was really bad exit. And we are out of here. Peace, everybody. Good night.
Night, everybody.